The big belly that you or maybe someone you know is walking around with, commonly known as a beer belly, well, it actually has nothing to do with beer, but it is, in fact, one of the most dangerous types of bellies you can have. Hey Wellness Warriors, I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and I started my holistic health practice in order to help you take control of your health naturally, because true health only comes naturally. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up and share with me your thoughts in the comments below. Growing up, my dad had this friend that had a huge belly, and when we were kids, we always just referred to it as a beer belly. But the fact is that the guy really didn't drink much beer, so I was a little bit perplexed by this as a kid. Now, when I got into patient care, I had a lady, she came strolling into the clinic, and at first glance, she's a female, she had a big belly, and quite frankly, it looked like she was pregnant. So I thought to myself, okay, that's the case, until I learned a little bit more about her. Based on age and some other factors, she definitely wasn't pregnant. But this whole scenario reminded me of my dad's friend. And from there, it got me wondering, why do some people have these hard protruding bellies while other people have some gooey fat on the outside? It's a very interesting concept. So as I did some research into this situation, one of the things that I realized is that there's two types of fat. There's going to be a type of fat that we're all very aware of, gets around your midsection, very frustrating. It's like, why can't we just get rid of it? Why won't it go away? And it just hangs out there. And it's gooey, it's jiggly. This is known as subcutaneous fat. Then there's another type of fat. This fat develops deep in our bodies, around our organ systems. Sounds scary? Well, it really is. This fat develops around our intestines, our kidney, our liver, and it's not just below the surface of the skin. This fat is below the surface of the skin and the muscles deep in our body, and this is known as visceral fat. And as we start to get more visceral fat over time, what happens is it starts pushing our belly out, causing our belly to become hard and protrude, leaving very little pinchable fat on the outside. This is known as a pot belly. Now, you and I both know that excess fat on our body is not a good thing because it leads to disease. It leads to diseases like cardiovascular disease or diabetes and health problems like high cholesterol and high blood pressure. But this begs the question, which type of fat is worse? Is it that ooey gooey fat on the outside, or is it that deep fat that's causing us to have a pot belly? Now, the gooey belly fat that you have on the outside, well, that's kind of like an energy storage facility. You eat too much food / energy, and your body stores it. Your body stores it there just in case food gets a little bit scarce. You don't have any more nuts and berries, you weren't able to bring down that wildebeest, and let's say you have to go a couple days without. Well, the good news is your body has that energy storage. So this is known as a passive form of fat because it doesn't do a whole lot but just hang out there. Now, that deep fat, the deep fat that's causing your belly to protrude and become hard, well, that's a different story. That type of fat that's surrounding the organ system can actually start acting as an organ itself and start releasing fatty acids and hormones that the liver has to deal with, causing excess stress on the liver and also a pretty bad metabolic environment. And when our internal organs are packed with this fat, it creates problems far beyond the organs themselves. It creates problems across the entire body. It's highly linked to inflammatory problems, cancer, stroke, diabetes, heart disease. It's linked to problems like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and so many other poor health outcomes. And make no mistake, just because you don't have a pot belly and maybe you have a lot of subcutaneous fat, that gooey fat on the outside, you still will have problems with this deep visceral fat. So why does this happen to some people but not others? That is a really interesting question, and it has nothing to do with beer, but there are believed to be a couple factors involved. One of them being genetics, basically your DNA, how your body's hardwired. Some people are believed to be more likely to store fat viscerally, while others subcutaneously, that fat on the outside. Now, another factor involved is believed to be the foods that you're eating. We all know that overeating in general will cause us to gain weight and gain fat, but those who eat a lot of highly processed foods, sugar-filled foods like cakes and donuts and sugary drinks, and people who eat a lot of carbohydrates are known to have more visceral fat versus subcutaneous fat. Now, the other thing to look at is hormones. But here's the deal, is regardless of how you got this pot belly, the most important thing is how do we turn this ship around before it's too late? But before we get into that, I do want to cover this. You all ask me questions on topics I cover all the time in my private community. Understand that the conversation does start here on YouTube, but it continues in the Wellness Warrior community. And in the Wellness Warrior community, we don't have big pharma looking over our shoulder and censoring natural health information. So I'd love to see you get your answers. I'd love to help you, but in order to do so, be sure to join my community by texting this number right here on the screen. Text this number and I'll see you on the other side. And if you're somebody who is not in the US or Canada and you want to be a part of this community, I'll put a link in the description below where you can sign up. Now, the first and most valuable thing that you can do in order to lose the pot belly isn't going to be to go to the gym and start running your heart out. It's going to be to change your diet. It's your poor diet that got you into this situation, and changing to a healthy one is going to be a key factor in helping you get out of it. Now, the best diet that you can follow is going to be a modified ketogenic diet. Now, this is going to be a sugar-free, grain-free, low carbohydrate diet that is going to be very sustainable and pretty easy to follow. And I'm a big fan of this diet simply because it's much easier to follow than your typical ketogenic diet. And how do I know this? Well, it's because my wife and I literally wrote a book on it. This right here is the diet that I use in my clinic. It's the diet I use with all my patients, and this is a low carb modified keto diet. It works very well. It's a diet that I've been on for the past 10 years, and I've seen so many people transform their lives by following it. Now, if you're somebody who's getting just kind of a little bit confused about dietary information and you don't know where to start, look, make it simple. Focus on eating meat and vegetables, and that will take you a long ways. Now, the next no-nonsense strategy that you can use in order to lose this pot belly is to do 16-8 intermittent fasting. 16-8 intermittent fasting is where you're going to basically fast for 16 hours, eat all your meals within an 8-hour period. What this will allow you to do is really tap into those deep fat stores and start reversing that pot belly. This is a easy thing that you can implement, and it offers tremendous benefits. Next, focus on reversing insulin resistance. If you have this going on, if you have a pot belly, then insulin resistance is certainly playing a role in it. And what you can do is use nutritional supplementation. You know, a lot of people turn directly to pharmaceuticals when it comes to fixing insulin resistance, and they forget the fact that nature has given us some very particular herbs and vitamins that in many cases work better than the pharmaceuticals and don't leave you with all the nasty side effects. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to an ebook, my blood sugar ebook, in the description below that will explain to you some of these different vitamins and herbs that you can use. And from there, I want you to get out and exercise. And you don't have to focus on being the next strong man or strong woman. You don't need to focus on being the next Olympic level runner. You just need to get out and move, because a 30-minute brisk walk a day will offer you more benefits than you could even imagine. And look, make sure you stay the course. During this process, you will get frustrated, you will screw up, you will feel uncomfortable, but none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that when you do screw up, you wake up the next day and it's a fresh start, and you stay determined and you keep pushing forward, because these changes that you're making right now are going to save your life. Now, in order to learn the best foods that you can eat for fat burning, watch this video right here. Now, the next food I want to talk about is one that is very much beloved by anyone in the keto community, but not so much by me, because my body doesn't handle it well. Actually, I'm very sensitive to this particular food and I don't do well with it. And that is